Yeah, Coach, it looked like, to me, the first 9 minutes, the team just couldn't do anything. It just looked like they were asleep out there. I was curious if you thought the same and if you had an explanation after 2 weeks of what seemed like good preparation as to why that happened.
I agree. Uninspiring, not a good performance. And we're going to wipe that one, and we'll move on.
And why is it that this team, it seems like the past few seasons, follows up one of its better performances, Miami earlier this year, then loses to Charlotte, then beats Charlotte last week, comes back with some of its, well, just less than performances? Why can't it put together any momentum?
And I think if we had that answer, we wouldn't be in the spot we are in. So whether it's, I'm not focused on what's happened in the past few seasons, more focusing on the present and what's happening now. But yeah, I'm at a loss for words for that tonight. I apologize to the people that watched that, and that won't be happening again. But we have to move on. I got no choice there.
Okay, well, following that up, how can you guarantee that it won't happen again?
Well, I'll make sure. I mean, only thing I can control is our preparation and how we do that. From a mentality standpoint, from a soccer standpoint, that didn't warrant that performance. We had those words in there. You're right. Maybe I can't control that, so maybe I have to give up control of that. But it won't be from lack of trying. Excuse my words.
Rob, obviously a very upsetting performance for you. I'm sure the team as well.
I would hope so.
Yeah, but I guess looking at Nashville, I mean, to give them credit, what did they do, I guess, to really make it tough on the team tonight?
They played with intensity. They played from the start fast, aggressive. They played like they had something to prove. They in the first 5 minutes of the game, we didn't get out of our own half, whether it was aggression in duels or clearances. So from the first 5 minutes, they're not really talking about a tactic there, are you? You're talking about, for me, a willingness to defend or just kind of clear your boxes and then from there clear your lines. But yeah, I mean, even on the ball, they moved it well. They've made a change. Credit to BJ, he did a great job. He set this team up perfectly. He's been making progress, although they haven't won games. He's been making progress, and I warned them about that as well. That they're a different team, and they handedly beat us, and deservedly so.
Did you see any signs in training that the team would put a performance like this? Or?
No, this completely shocked me. This type of performance completely shocked me. It's not indicative of what this group is, and that's why it's a company line, right? Like you move on and you dust yourself off and you go again. That's what we have to do, and I've said it all year long that no matter it's been high or low, good or bad, and you have to move forward. So I'll stick to that process and be as consistent as I can be and control what I can.
Rob, several injuries to some key players tonight. I know you don't know timetables or anything, but just what were the injuries to Jonde, Derek, Stian? Looked like he had something, but obviously was able to come back in. I can't remember. I think there was one more.
Yeah, Pedro.
Yeah.
Jonde's, it's been something you guys asked me about him already earlier in this week about his foot. So he's been dealing with this thing in his foot for a long time, and whether I have not spoke to anybody from there, but whether he got kicked or whatever happened, it made it worse, and that's really what's been kind of it's been lingering all year. So we've just been managing it and trying to push him through things. Derek was cramping at the end, so with the new rule as well, like can't have somebody down for 2 minutes or out for 2 minutes, so it made sense to make the sub and have fresh legs as well. Hopefully there's nothing there. Stian had a cut in his chin, but he went back in the game, and then Pedro got completely crushed. And I'll do a check-in and see what happens there. It wasn't a foul, but he did get knocked pretty hard.
In the opening 5 minutes, Bunbury was open for a header on a set piece. And then Mule was left unmarked at the back post for that goal. I was curious about, without singling players out, did Nashville do something different on that set piece, or just a player just not mark Bunbury for starters?
Yeah, I guess I'd have to look at the markers and how it was. But no, they didn't do anything different. The second phase of the ball, or second phase of the set piece, and yeah, there was somebody left unmarked. So yeah, it's somebody's role and responsibility, and we have to be accountable. And I'll hold my hand up to make sure that changes, or somebody else does that job.
Doug and Sam, go ahead.
And then y'all had 2 weeks for this game, but now you've got, I guess, 2 sessions before Miami comes here on Wednesday. How do you, in such a short amount of time, what do you focus on with these guys?
Yeah, completely forgetting what happened tonight. For me, there's no. The positive is that it's behind us, and that we have to move forward, taking one game at a time. Like, yeah, I mean, there's only so much time to train now, so now it's about rest and recovery. So guys will have to recover. We'll have to assess to see where the injuries are, or guys physically are feeling, and put the group that's the freshest and most competitive out there to get a result on Wednesday.
When a team comes out flat, why do you think that happens?
It's a really good question. I don't know. I mean, you hear so much right now being talked about mentality of players. There's a lot of critique about that in the national team level. You know, that was a big focus of what they were talking about with those players. And yeah, I don't have that correct answer for you. I mean, each group is going to be different, so I don't bring it up to bring them up. I'm just saying that was just recently talked about. So when I sit there and think about what the group should be like mentally, or what kind of group do we have, I always look at myself. How do I act? How do I prepare? How do I message to them? How do we as a staff do things? So that's why buck will always stop with me, whether it's good, bad, indifferent. Like, I'll give them the credit when it's great, but when it's bad, I always take responsibility for it. And I can say that that's not my mentality. That's not the way I approach life. That's not the way I approach training. That's not the way I approach my work. So that's why I'm really disappointed, because I don't think there's a reason to come out that way. Because at the end of the day, there's 2 things they can control, and that's attitude and work rate. And it was way off it. So I don't have the great answer. If I did, maybe that would have changed. I thought it would have changed at halftime. But that's a good question.
Back to Doug and back to Noah.
Looking at the starting lineup, you have a Loney at striker, a basically new signing at attacking midfielder, homegrown starting central midfielder, et cetera. When the team is flat like that in the opening 9 minutes and it just not getting anything going, who are you looking to on the field to kind of get the guys and get them focused, or I don't know, motivate them?
Yeah, I mean, look, like there aren't as many veterans, right? I understand that. You got Derek that's been around a while. There's got other guys that have good experience and different experiences. You got Brad, obviously Dax is on the bench, and they do their parts. There's only so much they can do, I get, when they're not in the lineups. As we know, Dax is not going to play forever. Guys aren't going to play forever, so it's like trying to create the next leaders, getting them to step up to the plate. Some of that's whether it's a vocal thing, but I'm looking for all of them. I've told them before that there's not one person is bigger than the club, not one person is bigger than their team. So when we had no DP there, I talked to them about being together as a group and really being strong as a group, and everybody worked together. Everybody has a voice, and everybody really, you're one unit together. And then Alexi comes. It's okay. Now you got another player, and he comes in not to be different than the group and not to set outside the group and be a DP as it is in this league. The challenge is that they work together themselves and pull that out of each other. So we're trying to create the next leaders. Some of that's in them, and some of that's not. So it's about pulling that out of them, probing them, asking questions, supporting them, holding them accountable. But yeah, there's no one person I look to. I look to the group.
We'll take a couple more locker rooms open to know.
Do you think that the team can do better?
100%.
How?
Win more tackles, score more goals, which we didn't score any. So I mean, they can do a lot better. Every game, though, when you win or lose, like, you can always do better. So I don't think that we've definitely not seen the best of this team. We've seen a really, really low point. But yeah, I mean, they can do better in every category. We're not a complete team. We're not there yet, and that'll be a while until we are.
So you can get right here. Just, thanks.
Coach, you mentioned the addition of Alexi to the team and how you all are trying to build that team chemistry. How do you feel that's progressing, and did that have an impact on tonight's game?
Before tonight, I felt like it was progressing really well. He's integrated great. His teammates to him to his teammates on the field. It looks like in and around the facility. I thought Nashville did a really good job trying to handle him and almost not man marking him, I would say, but they were very aware of him. I feel like we didn't get him enough for the ball, and he wasn't able to have the impact that we have seen in training, that we saw a little bit in Charlotte, even a little bit in the small part that he played in the Galaxy game. So it's just going to continue because he's obviously still new here, and I think that with time it'll only get better.
Last one, Jared, go ahead.
Hey, Coach, how do you balance with Lexi finding the game without trying to force feed him too much, but also like letting him get comfortable and get into dangerous spaces?
Yeah, I think he does a good job of that on his own. You constantly see him scanning and looking around and finding different space, and that's one thing that I saw from training that I have seen in games so far, that they're looking at each other, they're moving into space that they create, or someone moves in out of a space, someone moves into it, and so I think that's the best way that I can describe him having the game come to him a little bit. I think that players on this team know the quality that he has, but if you just keep giving him the ball, or other teams are going to stop it. They scout, they do opposition analysis, so they'll know he's a quality player. But then that's where the highlight of the team has to come into. He can't get on the ball, so it goes to somebody else. They get on the ball and they give it to somebody else. So you play your part and your role in the team. I try to tell them, what are you in the team for? Center backs is not for you to dribble 10 players and score the goal. You play to the players in front of you, and they go and create to the players in front of them, and so on and so forth. Everyone has their role in a team, right? So it's, in a long-winded way, that's my answer to that.
Thanks, Coach. Johannes and Justin are in the locker room. Please.